Hello everyone and welcome once again to Chrono Trigger. In the last episode we escaped from prison because we were unjustly accused of kidnapping. And now we found a gate and we are trying to figure out where we are. Technology is obviously advanced and there's a weird door here. Let's actually check this out. A strange crest is engraved here. It's sealed by some kind of power. It's actually a similar message to those little black boxes that we had seen before. Now, it might be a little bit subtle here, but you might notice something about the recording and just about the game in general. And the reason for that is I have switched over from the Super Nintendo version of the game to the PlayStation version. And so I have probably edited the introduction into the very beginning of the video. But the reason I did that was actually because there was just recently a release that came out of a new remake of Chrono Trigger. It makes the third remake of the game, which, I mean, Square Enix can do what it wants with its intellectual property, but come on, like three remakes of this, which is an extremely beloved franchise, and no continuation. We get Chrono Cross in '99, and then three remakes of Chrono Trigger. One on the PS1, which is the one that we're playing right now. One on the DS, which adds a couple new bosses, which I don't have a DS, so I've actually never seen that. And now one for the PC on Steam. I might switch over to that one potentially, because it would obviously be easier on recording, obviously be easier on everything else, but I'm going to hold out because I actually looked at several reviews of it, and it is buggy. Real buggy. So I have it on wishlist, I have it on following, I'm going to keep up to date with it, and if some of the bugs get weaned out, then I will most likely switch over to that. But we're in the future now. No time to talk. Alright. Well, this doesn't exactly look like a pleasant sight. What could have happened here? It's obvious that there's some pretty messed up landscape, but let's check this out. Trandome. We don't even know what time we're in. Moving on. There's people. At the very least, there's people. I mean, they don't exactly look like the happiest bunch, but there's people. Got any cash? You call this money? Oh, well, I have some good stuff. Autogun. So there will be just a little bit of inconsistency whenever it comes to inventories from the previous episode. Because I switched over, I had to basically redo all of the introductory stuff. But it's because I care. Let's sell that too. And... oh. And... well, we're gonna get iron. It is amazing to me that we had to travel all the way to the future in order to get iron armor. You would have thought that would have been readily available, but alas. And that will bump our defense up tremendously. Boop, boop, boop. There. And the autogun. And I believe we might be ready to go. Let me Let me actually switch to that. Speed is pretty important in this game, so I want to keep people fast. But you'll find some food at Aristome to the northeast, but only if you get past Lab 16. The beasts there don't react to weapons like guns and swords. Well, I'm sure some of them do, but this is one of the major reasons why I switched over to the PS1 version. The Super NES version had a bit of lag going, and the PS1 version does a little bit, but it's so much smoother. And also, the resolution is a lot better. So, anyway, Truce Dome. Never heard of it. This is Strand Dome. If you're looking for food, you lose. Kingdom? What are you talking about? This is an Enertron. You get a full night's sleep in a few seconds, but it still leaves you hungry. Well, I mean, I guess that's the important part. HP restored, but you're still hungry. Well, it's another one of those doors. Alright. Well, apparently we have to travel through a laboratory up here. And apparently this is Bangor Dome. I don't know how we found out the name of it, but nevertheless. Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it before. I actually went through my playthrough again because I was actually about 10 episodes further than I was at before I decided to do the remaking, but I really wanted to switch over. But the reason I hum out a little bit of the lines is, or of the music in the background, is so that it's easier to sync up. So, apologies if it's distracting. Alright. So, good, got it. So the thing about these rats is they're not actual monsters like we've been seeing before. They're actually different events that happen. Basically, if you get hit by one of the rats, they steal something from you, and it's a pain. So we may as well avoid that. Looks like somebody healed. Won't do much good. But so the plants here are called meat eaters, which is interesting because I don't know if in any of my playthroughs I've ever seen them actually attack. I'm sure they have one, but I just have never seen it. I dodged. So there'll be just a little bit of inconsistency whenever it comes to experience, abilities, items, and that sort of thing. I should have a similar amount of items. I think the only difference would be like amount of shelters I have, amount of tonics, etc. Because I did pretty well as far as maintaining myself and not having to use a ton of items. But then again, I also did not purchase nearly as many items, so slight inconsistency, please forgive me. But Marl learns provoke. Good. provoke basically causes a confused state, and so they'll attack. Oh goodness, I thought I was gonna lose it there. There and there. Load bow. Good. So we can equip that on tomorrow. Thankfully, also, we have not actually gotten to a point where we would have missed one of the additions to the PlayStation version, which is the sort of anime-style cutscenes that happen on occasion. It's always unfortunate whenever the placement of these monsters makes it difficult to hit multiples. Doop, doop. Ah, I probably could have gotten another one there. Don't worry, even though I'm on a new version, or on a different version, I'm still gonna mess up quite a few times. Thankfully, I did just a bit of power leveling, and we were early enough in the game that I could play around a bit more with getting them strong enough to deal with this stuff. But should be going through. So this is something I talked about in the here we go. That's probably the best I'm gonna do. So something I thought about whenever dealing with this sort of setting is a lot of fantasy and sci-fi deals with the issue of post-apocalyptic environments. The end of the world has happened. Humanity has been driven back into a state of scavenging and primitive lifestyle, and it's an amazing thing to think about, and it's also really fascinating how popular that genre is, because I would certainly assume that not many people are going to be so nihilistic as to be excited over just seeing ruined cities, but let me get... Oh, they're not close? Yes, they're close enough now. Those are the monsters the guy was talking about when he said guns and swords and bows won't work on it. Or normal weapons won't work. So if you actually attack them, you'll miss. But there's an amazing fascination whenever it comes to post-apocalyptic settings, and I think it's because of the fact that people are genuinely curious as to how they would react to these situations, how they would respond when given that difficult situation of everything that you've relied upon is over. What do? And there is a bit of truth to that, and there is a bit of questioning in that regard, because in all honesty, it's in desperate situations that we truly realize who we are. And I think that's the case, and I think that's true for most genres, like the fantasy genre, where the evil king is threatening the safety of the kingdom. The Dragon Warrior series, or the Dragon Quest, or Final Fantasy even, where this simple person gets taken and sent into an extraordinary situation, and he has to deal with all of the major tragedies and dangers that are occurring in the world directly, and he has to face them, he or she, I should say, has to face them head on. And it's interesting to look at, because people are genuinely curious about who who they are. I mean, it's one of the things that attracts me to the fantasy genre, especially attracting me to the idea of D&D and roleplay, because it allows you to explore philosophies and ideas and concepts that I wouldn't normally be able to expose myself to or explore, either because the situations themselves would be dangerous or risky, or simply put, that they just wouldn't happen. Alright. One more monster. Here we go. You can dodge most of these by going a particular way, but I find it much better to just take them out. Get the extra XPs. But I watched a video about the isekai genre of anime, and it was an interesting video that talked about why so many of these were coming into prominence, and I feel like it explored the surface level of it, but I really feel like the genre of being sent to another world and, you know, dealing with all of the situations that world entails, really stems from a similar spirit as any other fantasy genre. The simple person being sent into an extraordinary situation and having to deal with the circumstances is something that a lot of people don't know fully how to deal with. And so we want the heroic tale. We want the tale of victory, of good against evil, of, you know, fighting against impossible odds and eventually winding up on top. That's the essence of fantasy. That's the essence of storytelling. Even historical fiction or most other genres of fiction will explore that concept, that good versus evil. Corrie ten Boom's famous book, where, you know, she and her family were sent into a concentration camp because they were harboring Jews in World War II. The reason that's such a gripping and engaging story is because the good guys are being sent into a tragic situation, and we want to see them overcome. And not all of them do. But by the end of it, Corrie ten Boom herself comes out on top. But moving on. Who are you? You there. Where are you from? We come from the laboratories to the west. What? Hey, we've got people who crossed the ruins. Say again? You're joking. So there are people who can beat up those freaky mutants. Daddy's gonna bring us some food. My husband went down to the food storage area below. I haven't seen him since. There's an old factory site called Proto-Dome to the east. Can't get near it because there's a bunch of lunatic robots in the area. Oh, what do you got? Did you really come from the dome to the west? Yeah. I see. Not that I really care. Well... Pardon me. I'm Doe. I'm the descendant of the director of this info center. In the basement, there's a huge computer and a storage center for food. But we can't get through because of the robot guards. It's a pity. It does sound unfortunate. So, how do these Intertrons work? You can reach the continent to the south through the sewer axis, but stay off of Death Peak. There's an old man living in a dome near Death Peak. Talk about crackpots. The door with the crest? Dynamite won't budge it. So, Intertrons. They comment as if they have absolutely zero food. Like, absolutely zero food. And that this is the thing that's keeping them going. So is this a nutrient provider as well as sort of a stamina fatigue alleviator. I was trying to think of the right words. I'm not good at thinking of the right words on the spot. Have any money? Yeah. You sure this is money? Well, I have to lighten my inventory anyway. So, we can actually sell this stuff. There's no reason to have the maiden suit anymore. We have a load sword, if you remember from the prison. Bronze bow, and the steel saber. You have anything different? Nope. But we'll stock up a bit on tonics, stock up a bit on shelters. Like I said, I didn't buy an enormous amount in order to get here quicker. But I'll actually buy 10 of everything. Going through. Save money. It'll do you good. That's what that guy who walked to the other dome used to say. Well, you'll be happy to know that that guy is well off. Or maybe not well off, but he's alive. We're gonna save. So, Marl's a level short because she was not in the party whenever she was consigned to oblivion. Are you going down below? Of course. But no one's ever returned from there. Gotta try, right? It's nice to see such spirited young people for a change. Careful now, and come back alive. Alright, so, before we jump down, I will actually end this episode here. Thank you for watching, and in the next one, we will see what we can find in the depths below. Take care, and have a blessed day.